Usually, by the time someone walks into a counselor's office, they're already aware of many of the patterns that they want to change. Whether it's an emotional pattern, a history of abusive or unhealthy relationships, a substance or behavioral addiction, they've usually already read books and watched videos on the topic. So why is it still so hard to change, even when we know that that's what we need to do? We tend to think of transformative change as stopping whatever patterns we've become adapted to that no longer serve us. But it's actually more about learning a whole new set of patterns, like how to experience our emotions and navigate our relationships in an empowered way. Transformation happens when you replace old skills with better ones. We have to learn a new way to live in order to not boomerang back to our old coping mechanisms. So true healing is about moving from surviving to thriving. And those two conditions have very different toolkits. We have to fill in developmental gaps, like whatever we needed but may have missed out on as a child. And we have to continue always to evolve in our self-awareness, our interconnectedness, and our ability to speak and walk in our own truth. You're here to learn how to build a solid internal house. And to build a home, you've got to know how to work with tools. You've got to be able to meld and bolt things together with integrity in a way that will withstand the inevitable storms. So when you were little in the formative years, you would try to maybe secure a screw into a piece of wood, but you had little fingers and you didn't have a lot of strength and you didn't have a lot of options, especially if you came from a household that was less than functional, which is the story for many of us. So you tried and you tried, but it hurt and you couldn't do it. You would drop the screw, it would fall out, and we all lived in childhood in our own frailty. But then, at about the age of 12 or 13 or so, sometimes younger, sometimes older, but for most of us in the onset of adolescence, we discovered some form of coping that we likely didn't have access to when we were smaller. And then we tend to wrap our identity around whatever crutch it is that we embraced. Whether it was caretaking, people-pleasing, relationships, overachieving, shopping, sex, drugs, alcohol, or any other security blanket behavior. When we discovered this new way to numb or distract, it was kind of like getting a brand new shiny screwdriver. It seemed to be the solution to all of our problems. It worked great. It worked to contend with our feelings. It worked in social situations. It gave us a sense of courage and confidence. It was the best thing we'd ever found. So we used that screwdriver for absolutely every situation. We overused it. We abused it because that pattern was the only thing we knew and the best tool that we had. And over time, that screwdriver got bent and rusted and stripped, and the screw got stripped. And after a while, what we had always relied on, it just doesn't work anymore. So now we're adults physically and intellectually, but emotionally, we're often still interacting with the world from a place of childhood wounds or emptiness. And that crutch, that pattern, the only thing we've ever known to use to get through anything, has stopped working. It's a terrifying proposition. And that's the fear and helplessness that launch most into the journey of seeking support, healing, and wholeness. The internal healing process is kind of like getting a brand new shiny red toolbox. You know, the one you never got. And at first it's empty, and that can be a little bit unnerving. We sometimes call this stage the hallway. You've closed the door on the old ways that weren't working anymore, but you don't exactly know a new way yet. But in reality, being uncomfortable never actually killed anybody. And it's actually a lot easier to get through with the support of other people who are also on the healing journey. And it's also likely a part of that very childhood and adolescent development that you missed. So now you get to experience those stages of development that you missed and walk through them with confidence and self-love. Emotional intelligence is the least acquired form of wealth on the planet. And when you have it, you're rich. It also naturally attracts like-minded, healthy people into your life. So as you learn these new emotional skills, your new toolbox starts to fill up. ARCS video lessons start with the most fundamental tools, like how to channel your emotions in an empowered way, how to set strong boundaries, and how to recognize abusive personalities. It's kind of like getting a hammer and some nails and another better screwdriver and a saw and a wrench and a pair of pliers and some plaster, maybe. Everything you need for Life 101. And you'll be able to also pass these lessons on to your clients when you begin coaching, if that's part of your aspirations. Then later in the ARCS video lessons, you'll learn the advanced emotional and relationship skill sets, like how to rewire your instincts, how to respond rather than react, and how to create the life that you deserve. It's kind of like getting a power drill with a different bit for every feeling and situation. We want you to have all of the skills and all of the information that you possibly can, because these are the skills and this is the information that can save your life. It can also transform your relationships, break intergenerational cycles within your family, and inspire those around you who get to witness you come into your own. Most people embark on the healing journey feeling discouraged and broken, but learning how to thrive resolves the entire problem. Once you have a shiny new toolbox filled with all the basics and all the high-end power tools, and you know how to use them all, once you know how to live life and you feel secure about it, and you know who you are and you feel good about it, what would you want to go back to a bent, rusty, stripped old screwdriver for? You won't. You won't even have an urge to return to old patterns once you discover how much better the new ones are.